Welcome to Weather to Watch. I'm meteorologist Ted Keller. Here's what I'm watching. Well, we have a warm pattern still established across much of the U.S. The northern plains will see some cold air intrusions here over the next couple of days, but mostly the jet stream pattern is changing, and that's going to make two very important changes over the next 6 or 7 days or so. First is we're going to increase the rainfall rates across the central U.S., and hand in hand with that, severe thunderstorms will actually pop up. In fact, we have 3 days in a row of risk, and what looks to be a pretty good day on Friday as well. Let's dive into it. Here's a look at the nation from the visible satellite loop perspective. This is when the satellite is literally taking a picture with reflected light, just like you would if you had a camera in space. And it shows all kinds of interesting features, small cumulus clouds there in the state of Mississippi. We have an upper level system right here that's starting to develop some showers and possibly some severe weather in this area. We'll highlight that in a minute. Generally speaking, the flow at the 500 millibar level is west to east in what meteorologists call a zonal flow, and pretty rapid across the northern plains, a little slower across the southern plains, and we have this long ridge in the south where quiet weather persists. Changes are gradually taking place out in the western U.S. that will affect the precipitation pattern and also the severe weather pattern unfolding. Not just later this week, it'll take a break, and then maybe by the middle of April, establish itself again. And that's all coming up in the future. Right now, low pressure sits over Cheyenne, Wyoming, and we have this very brisk southerly flow across the plain. So the colors on this map are temperatures. So you can see 80s, even temperatures approaching 90 degrees, perhaps surpassing that in the Panhandle and in parts of Oklahoma. This frontal boundary here is stuck up there, at least for the time being. Let's take a look at the pattern change. The latest EPS, the average of the 500 millibar flow from today and for the next 7 days, so stopping on Sunday evening, shows, generally speaking, a trough of low pressure, although not a very significant one, but enough over the western U.S. And height rises, or abnormally high lines for whatever latitude you pick, are occurring out through New England. And when that happens, that's going to have an impact on temperature. So for the entire week, the anomaly is very high on the warm side through the Appalachians, Ohio, West Virginia, parts of Pennsylvania, and much of the country. The only cool pockets are in the northern plains and not really in the northeast anymore, although they did have that distinction there for a while. Here's the precipitation rate, same. Average for a week, anomaly, in other words, is it higher than you normally see? And sure enough, we have this band here that stretches all the way, ultimately from Texas up through the Ozarks and through Illinois, Indiana, into the eastern Great Lakes states. So rain is one of two things I'll focus on here in a second. Let's talk about that first. Overall, the total precipitation for the next 6 days, I usually say 5, this is 6 days, shows exactly what you just saw in the EPS. This rain area that moves north, curves back to the northeast and back to the east through New England, New York State. If you see yellow on here, down here on the bottom right, that's about 4 inches, maybe a little bit more, maybe 5, isolated in some areas. And the way this is going to break down is Friday's main rain hazard is this area here. Before that, Thursday, it's up here, and then on Saturday, it's through this area. So it's a 1, 2, 3 punch kind of. So it goes from here to here to here. So this is one weather system leaving, and then the next two coming in right here. If we take a look a little bit closer at that particular area, you can kind of see, again, the darker red here is the 3, this is 4, maybe some 5-inch totals up here through the next 5 days. The bulk of that, though, is not really going to fall until later in the week, as you saw. On the 6 to 10-day precipitation outlook now, let's start Sunday after all that rain ends and goes through Thursday. We do take a little bit of a break, so we don't see much precipitation in the central U.S., especially in California. It looks a little dry, and then southern Texas and parts of Florida look to be a little bit abnormally wet as well through that period. And then again, after that, I think the precipitation picks up again in the central U.S. Let's take a look at the severe weather side of things. So I did my severe thunderstorm outlooks this morning, and I'll do another one tomorrow morning, probably every morning this week as we have ongoing threats. But the only difference here from what I showed you this morning is the Storm Prediction Center did extend that slight risk, level 2, more to the east that encompasses the Chicago for the most part, the northern part of Chicago, all the way up to Milwaukee. It had stopped about here earlier. Still a little bit of a threat there in West Texas tonight. And that's for tonight. And thunderstorms are expected to develop here and then kind of move this way in a line. There's not much of a tornado threat with these. Hail seems to be the most significant threat with those. There's hail, wind, and tornadoes, and hail is, I think, winning on that one. Same on Tuesday. Just about the same shape, but the Storm Prediction Center extended it more to the east to cover much of, or more of New York and more of Pennsylvania than it did previously. So that's worth noting. And there is a 2% risk of tornadoes involved in that. And then on Wednesday, this was also upgraded during the day today to a slight risk, 2 out of 5, from Oklahoma City through Wichita Falls down into northern Texas. And that is probably a system that I will chase. Doesn't look overly exciting. It has some trouble getting together. I don't see a real well-defined dry line. Not a real good surface low, but maybe things will change. The instability seems a little weak, but I think all things considered, these things tend to come together, especially just, the morning of. So I think that probably will be something worth my time. Just a 4-hour drive, not 4 or 5-hour drive. Not too bad. Temperatures are still on the warm side. Let's break it down. On Tuesday, warm stretch. All this red here is above normal temperatures, includes a lot of 80s and 70s, much more to the north than they normally are. A couple of 90s in there, not impossible. That's, again, the highs for tomorrow. The individual cities are the numbers, and then this is whether it's above or below normal, and we're getting a pocket of cold up there in the northern plains. We move 2 days ahead to Thursday. Notice that this doesn't really move much. It sinks a little bit southward. The epicenter of the abnormally warm temperatures includes 81 in Columbus, Ohio. And already we see return flow on Thursday. So this thing isn't done. It's responding to jet stream changes, which will allow more surface low development here by Friday into Saturday. And then by Saturday, finally, the cold front moves on through, and you see very cool temperatures in the northern plains, still pretty hot around Pittsburgh, PA. And if we go out to the period right after that, Sunday through Thursday, the west, especially California and Nevada, look pretty darn warm. And then this abnormally cool area here in Texas is really a reflection of just rain and clouds more than anything else. Now we go 2 weeks out, and this is starting the week of Monday, this April 4th, so this is a week from today and going for 7 days. Shows a more flat pattern, ridging for the most part in the eastern U.S., still a tendency to be a little troughy in the west. That as long as that's there, the severe weather flags go up for the central plains in particular. On the abnormal temperature front, again, Texas looks a little cool. This is a result of persistent rain, I think, and just cloud cover in that area on average for that period. And again, the government has outlined this slight risk here of a rain hazard for the April 10th through the 12th period. So it goes right up through the heart of Texas and Louisiana all the way up to Iowa. And then finally, we'll look at severe weather. This is a 2-week pattern, the 6th through the 12th. Not real exciting here. Supercell indices percentages running a little low, but just what I would do is just pay attention to the overall pattern and not so much the intensities. And then week 3, I'll go ahead and throw that up there. That looks intense too, but a lot of times week 3, it wobbles around a lot. But the overall tendency, though, I think is valid and there. In other words, the Great Plains is going to activate severe weather probably between now and the middle of April. I'd say twice, maybe 3 times. I am planning on chasing on Wednesday and on Friday. Friday looks like the better day. But Wednesday may prove to be fruitful. We'll see. I'll bring you an update on the analysis of what I think about that. And then tomorrow morning, there'll be another severe thunderstorms outlook as soon as the SPC refreshes all their stuff in the morning. Hope to see you then. Thanks for watching this edition of Weather to Watch. It comes out every other day, or as the weather necessitates. Please remember to share this with your friends, subscribe to the channel, or at the very least, like what you just watched. Thanks.